regular meeting of the Taos County Board of Commissioners. And after all of that, if everybody still wants to stay here, we're happy to see that you're here. The sheriff's video didn't scare you away. I hereby call this meeting to order. Clerk, call the roll.
Chairman Bender.
Present.
Vice Chair Gagos.
Present.
Commissioner Romero.
Present.
Commissioner O'Donnell. Present. Commissioner Blankenham.
Present.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I'm actually here on time.
I know that if anything's going to bring rain to our county, so we really appreciate it. Thank you. If everyone would please stand, I would like Commissioner O'Donnell to introduce Pamela Shepard.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, and viewing audience and guests. We have Pamela Shepard from the Taos United Community Church to give a prayer this morning.
Good morning. I'm sure that county commissioner meetings are happening all across the country today. I'm sure they did not begin with a video like ours. I'm just grateful for Taos, for our diversity and our humor, everything that's good about us. I come from Christian faith tradition, and I know we meet here as people of many faiths and no faith, many paths of spirituality. I'd like to offer this prayer for the county commission coming from my tradition. Beloved, we thank you for the precious gift of life together in community. As our Taos County Commissioners gather to do the work on all our behalf, I ask that you give them wisdom, that you give them courage, that you give them compassionate hearts, and a passion to serve all of Taos County people, the sick and the well, the rich and the poor, the native born and newcomer, the citizen and the undocumented, all of us here, one Taos County community. Bless their work, lift it up, help them to hear what comes before them today with open, compassionate hearts, with a sense of justice, and with a strong and present love. We pray this in the name of all the names we call you holy. Amen.
Thank you very much. If you'd please remain standing, and Mr. Petty, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? That's you.
My pleasure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda, Commissioners, is approval of the agenda. Move to approve. Second. Motion and a second to approve the agenda. Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner Romero.
Yes.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Yes.
Commissioner Blankenham.
Yes.
Vice Chair Gagos.
Yes.
Chairman Bender.
Yes. Item 6 under awards and recognitions. This will be a presentation from Sheriff Jerry Holbrook in recognition of Deputy Philip Ortega.
Good morning, Commission, County Manager, and other distinguished guests that are here today. It's my pleasure to recognize Deputy Philip Ortega with a letter of recognition. He will also be receiving a Taos County Sheriff's Office Challenge Coin for his valiant efforts on this day. It reads, for service set forth in the following. For outstanding performance of duty while acting as a Taos County Deputy Sheriff, Deputy Philip Ortega, on June 4th, 2018, at approximately 6:50 in the morning, responded to a suicidal person with mental illness. During the evolution of the call, Deputy Philip Ortega used sound tactics and verbal judo while negotiating the suicidal subject into surrendering himself for mental health evaluation. Deputy Philip Ortega's courageous and loyal devotion reflects great credit upon himself and upholds the finest traditions of the Taos County Sheriff's Office and, of course, the County of Taos. Philip? Congratulations. Thank you for an outstanding job. Well done. I might add that this person is still alive today due to the efforts of this man standing beside me. Yes.
Sheriff, can we get a picture?
Yes, please. He's a little shy. Right here in front,
Don't cover up for $2. She gets mileage on
Oh, yeah, red on you. Sorry, your turn. Yes, you're welcome.
Okay, next item is item 7, citizens' concerns. This is where we invite members of our audience to come up and speak to us today on anything that you'd like to, and we will ask you to limit your time to less than 5 minutes. And if you come up to speak, please state your name clearly for the record for the minutes. Dell, I know you had contacted me. You wanted to say something?
Yes, we do.
Dell Enders.
The four of us, we'd like to please.
You'll all introduce yourselves.
Good morning, my name is Jan Lujan.
And I'm Dell Edris. Eve Alsima. Linda Friedman.
Good morning, county commissioners, town leadership, our sheriff officers, and guests that are here today. Appreciate this time to come before you to share my thoughts, my concerns, and my feelings. My name is Jen Lujan, and I'm from Taos Pueblo and a citizen of this county. I attended for the Health of It Cancer Support Services walk at Kit Carson Park on June 23rd. March 5th, I was diagnosed with cancer. I am on a journey, not out of the woods yet. Still have quite a few bridges to cross, but Holy Cross Cancer Support Services has been a godsend in my life, for myself and my family. I've been on them for some of the group sessions that we have. They've assisted me with attending treatment in Santa Fe, helping me with transportation. So that association is such an important part in my life and in the life of many of the citizens in this county who have cancer and need that support. On June 23rd, my family and I and my children, my parents, my sister, my nieces and nephews participated for the Health of It walk at Kit Carson Park. The day began with everybody coming with good intentions, supporting their loved ones there who have cancer. And there were those that were there that are in this fight. There were also citizens there who were supporting those who had lost the fight, as well as many community members that were willing to support us in this effort. The day began with a prayer. And as you all know, this prayer that was rendered today was beautiful. It was inclusive of all of us in this community, the diversity of this community. I stood in the back with my daughter and my parents. And as the prayer began, I listened and was trying to get my daughter in check, and the words I heard shocked me. Cancer is the sin amongst us. And I just like, oh my God, did I just hear that right? Sinning is the cancer amongst us. Is he insinuating that because we sinned, we have cancer? And the vision that came to mind was my treatments at chemo at St. Vincent's. I see all walks of life there. Young, old, rich, poor, Native American, Hispanic, Anglo. Cancer does not discriminate based on religion, standing. And I couldn't believe what I heard. It left me with a sour taste in my mouth. It was pretty hurtful because I'm fighting cancer. And it brought me back to a time when my grandmother was diagnosed with cancer as well. She was diagnosed in the early 80s. And there was a lady who came to her and told her, Daisy, you have cancer because you're a Baptist. And when she told me that, I was pretty pissed. And then lo and behold, that lady who was Catholic got cancer. And I was like, people don't think. And when I heard this prayer, it brought me back to that incident there that happened to my grandmother. And I thought, wow, people still are misinformed about disease and cancer. And what was more shocking was that I found out this man is the CEO of Holy Cross Hospital, where many people fight disease. And to associate it with sin was pretty appalling to me. And I hope that, there's something that you can do, to correct this action. I read his apology, but it skirted around the whole words that were spoken there. Didn't leave me with a good feeling either. So I just wanted to share my experience with you. Cancer, all of us, it hits all of us in our families. I don't think any of us have been untouched by this. But I know that my fight continues, and I hope that I can overcome this. And I have a family and children, 26-year-old, a 21-year-old, a 19-year-old, and an 8-year-old. And this type of attitude and belief is beyond me. I respectfully share my concerns, my feelings with you. And I hope that there is something that you might be able to do to correct this type of action. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Linda Friedman. Thank you for the opportunity to speak before you, commissioners, county officials, and all people present. I worked at Holy Cross Hospital for almost 40 years. I retired last year. During that time, I worked in several different roles, largely in labor delivery, which gave me an opportunity to become a part of this community and to feel like I mattered. In the year prior to my retirement, beginning in 2016, 1 year into Mr. Patton, our CEO's presence here at Holy Cross, some devastating changes were beginning to take place in staffing at our hospital. This resulted in an exodus of many long-term nurses from this community. Mr. Patton was attempting to change the structure of the hospital, making it a critical access facility. And at the same time, our chief nursing officer, Anna Abajan, retired. This had been anticipated from some time. Her assistant, who's worked with us for many, many years, well loved, respected, and trusted by the staff, as well as the medical providers, Ms. Valerio, submitted her application and that application was not considered by Mr. Patton. When I confronted him about this, he said that this was his decision. Therefore, I contacted the board, and I asked him to consider this action on Mr. Patton's part, and they declined to be part of that process. I was concerned, and I shared my concerns in writing with the board, that this was a costly mistake to the hospital, that it was devastating and a slap in the face, not only to the staff, but to this community, and that what followed was exactly what I anticipated, which is an exodus of nurses from our department. Initially, at least a third of the staff resigned. There have been many more resignations since then, only to be filled by travel nurses who are maybe 3 times the cost of what our local nurses are. As a result, we've lost valuable services, including having cuts in diabetes services. I think this has been a terrible message to our community. I feel that it undermines the fact that this is a local hospital owned by the county. And at this time, I ask that the county step forward and that we reclaim our hospital for our community. Because in the meantime, I've seen many, not only staff, but members of the community leave and go elsewhere for care outside of this county. Thank you.
Thank you. Fee?
Good morning. Thank you for listening to us. I'm Bea Balsamo. We have a lot of issues with the hospital, as you've probably already heard. But I want to address, among other things, is the billing. We've been hearing from Mr. Patton and the administration of the hospital that they need help from the county. We've already given them a mill levy. They want more soon, I think. Unfortunately, he's never touched upon the other side of the revenue issue, which is the billing. I showed Mr. Romero a few days ago some of the bills I got when I had shoulder surgery last fall, which incidentally was that I had surgery about the same time that we switched to critical access, which did not affect me because I don't have Medicare. And also we switched to a new computer system at the same time, which no one in the billing department was trained on. There were no bills. There was no money coming in for months at a time. I ended up getting a free shoulder surgery and 5 months of physical therapy because by the time they submitted my bills, they were not timely and the insurance company refused to pay. I have talked to dozens of people in this community who have had the same experience. I've talked to people in the billing department who still aren't sending out bills in a timely manner and think there are thousands of unpaid bills out there that are never going to get paid. Mr. Patton has never acknowledged that the billing department wasn't trained. It was a bad decision to switch to critical care and a new billing system and a new computer at the same time. Excuse me, at the same time in the same month. Revenues basically went to zero and have still not recovered. There's a huge backlog, and I think that I don't know how to say this diplomatically, but I think that a lot of the revenue problems at the hospital are caused by our administration and some very bad decisions that have been made over the last few years. I'm hoping that our hospital can recover and not close altogether, but that has not actually been the experience of Bill Patton in hospitals previous to this. And we're very worried about it. If you talk to other people in the community, you will find tons of bills and very happy people that never had to pay their bills because they weren't billed in a timely manner. And most insurance companies have a 3-month to a 6-month cutoff in their contracts with the hospital, and if they're not billed properly within that time period, they do not have to pay, and the patients don't have to pay. And this is what's been happening at least since last October, and it's still happening. Also, I'd like to talk about our ER director. I work in the ER. I've been a hospital staff member since 1981. I was a nurse before that, and since 1976. I worked in the emergency room for the last 10 years of my career. We had a magnificent ER director called Chris Gutierrez, came from a fantastic medical school with good experience, well loved by the staff, well loved by the patients, never had a complaint from anyone that I understand. Felt the need to resign after his treatment by Mr. Patton. Very unprofessional treatment by Mr. Patton and also by the director of nursing, who is an interim from out of state, who was hired in lieu of Teresa Valerio, who was the assistant DON that applied for the job that Linda was talking about. Mr. Patton accused in a formal meeting Mr. Gutierrez of having an affair with the nurse. He accused him of siding with nurses instead of siding with the administration. He accused him of making waves. What Dr. Gutierrez has been trying to do all along is explain to him that there are better ways to run a hospital. Basically, there are better ways to get revenue. Okay, and I'm out of time. But I really appreciate you listening to us, and if you have time to talk to us afterwards, we appreciate it.
Bill?
Thank you. Thanks for everybody here, and thank you for allowing us to speak. I guess my concern is, as a physician in the community since '89, but I've never worked at the hospital. I worked at Taos Pueblo for 16 years, and then in family practice for 11 in a fill-in capacity. That we're losing our community-based hospital. It is no longer a community-based hospital. When you depend on the nurses who are traveling, who cost that much more, as our staff and our direct patient care, they don't know the customs, they don't know the language, they don't know the patients, they don't know the families, they don't know the community, and they're here a month and then gone, and they cost a hell of a lot of money. In labor and delivery, I think there's been 7 nurses that have left. We now have 4 traveler nurses. And how much the traveler nurses cost, we all know it's much more. I think Dr. Gutierrez is an example. I think there's only 1 nurse in the ER that speaks Spanish. That Dr. Gutierrez did. And now there are none. I wonder what the color of the skin means. There's an African American, she's gone. There's a Native American, he's gone. There's a Chinese person in the computer system, he's gone. You know, I think there's a pattern here, and I think we're turning more white. And I don't think that's a good thing for our community at all. When you have mediations, as many mediations as he has and has lost, and then as we know with mediations, the people can't get up and speak because they're silenced, that's not a good thing in his 2 to 3 years of being the administrator. He has at least 3 people talking to lawyers right now. That is not a good thing. There's not, as far as I can tell, one good thing he has done for the hospital except just attempting to destroy a very fine community-based hospital. Now, hospitals are not easy to manage, nor to run, especially now in our financial situation. But he's killing us, in my mind, and killing the spirit of the hospital. And when the nurses leave, their families go down south and get care elsewhere. How many patients have to be flown out, air-backed out, ambulanced out, everything? We're losing a lot of revenue that we could keep if we could keep good nurses. And we had a very good supply of very good experienced nurses. And that really, to me, is, I don't know what to say anymore, I guess. You know, but I think there's a lot of issues that need to be looked into. And if you guys think you're going to come up to us and ask us for another mill levy, you really need to look at what's happening at the hospital before you ask us that. Because I don't want this to become a fight between the community and you guys or whatever. But I don't see how I can financially support a hospital when things are not happening the right way to bring the right amount of money in. I had surgery on my wrist at Holy Cross Hospital December 12th. May 9th, I got a bill for, the cost was supposed to be $5,000 from the ER. I still haven't got the OR bill. And I was supposed to pay $4,000 of that. So I called and talked to Billy, and he said, no, I don't. I have Medicare A and B, and I'm TRICARE, military retirement. I don't owe you $4,000. $4,000 on a $5,000 bill. And so she goes and looks at it, says, oh, I'll put it to the side. And I said, can I have an itemized bill? Sure, I'll send it to you. 3 weeks later, I get the exact same bill with no itemized. Call again. And a friend of mine got a bill for $1,800 or something. He got billed for $1,300. And then when he questioned it, they go, oh, you don't know anything. I think a lot of our patients and our community members, when they get a bill, they may not be as assertive or possibly as aggressive as some of us are, and they may actually start paying that bill, and that to me is a billing scam. And, you know, I think my next letter to the editorial should be, don't pay any Holy Cross Hospital bills until you talk to your insurance and make sure it's real. Because there's so many things that are happening, and that's been going on for years. So I just really don't see an excuse for it. When you change to a new medical record system, billing should be a priority of what the computerized system does. And it wasn't. And it's just, you know. So if you're not having income come in, it's a problem. And I appreciate it very much. I'm sorry if I get rattled up.
That's all right. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak to the commission today? Mr. Filkey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning.
Good morning.
How far out is it that all those kids and their rescuers are all out? I feel so bad. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Filkey. Yeah, that was great news this morning.
So, Mr. Chairman, the thought was raised, the idea was raised a few months ago about, the question was raised a few months ago about what we're going to do with, how we're going to deal with the current management of the hospital. And that conversation has kind of died. I know that we've been busy with other matters during their elections and everything else that happens, but we need to bring it back up, Mr. Chairman. Okay. And we need to have those discussions. I'm not a professional hospital administrator, but when you start hearing from the employees, the staff of the hospital, when you start hearing from the public, Mr. Lujan, thank you for coming forward about these things that the current CEO is doing and saying, those hurt. Those hurt the very core of a community of Taos. You know, we like to pride ourselves in being very unique, where we try to accept each other no matter what color, who we are, what we do. But when these things surface out in public and people think that they can get away by just apologizing, simply apologizing, that doesn't work. We need to do something about it. We need to show the community that the county, we own this hospital, and we care for our citizens. And we need to set aside, whether it's politics, friendships, whatever it is, and put into full gear the fact that we truly want to care for our constituents. And we need to do it soon before this hospital continues to further sink into the ground, Mr. Chairman. And I ask this commission, I hope that the majority of you will agree with me that we need to do something about it now.
Thank you, Commissioner. Back to the agenda, the citizens' concern. Is there anyone else from the audience that wishes to address the commissioners today? Please state your name.
My name is Marty Miller. I'm an advanced practice clinician in the emergency department. I've been there for 8 years. Came to this community from down south because I really appreciated the diversity and the way and the good things I heard about the hospital. That has disintegrated markedly during my time here. We are literally fighting for our jobs in the emergency department. Cuts are phenomenal. I can tell you that a good portion of the community that have drug and alcohol abuse, they are not adequately addressed. We no longer have a detox here. The hospital does not want to address that community either and try to put something in place for them. I just do short-term measures to help these people and then send them back out. And it's all I can do. I can tell you that it seems to be mismanaged. Things I've heard said the payer mix is bad. The payer mix has not changed in Taos. It's the payment. We cannot, what both B and Del said about the payment system, it is broken down. People are not getting their bills. People are not paying. Collections, co-pays are not being done up front. None of that is working. We have a system that doesn't work. We became a critical access at the same time that we put in a system that does not talk to anybody else. We don't have just 1 or 2 systems. We have 5 that we have to access for past medical records. I mean, that is cumbersome to work with. And you know, Mr. Patton came from Wyoming, came from Sitka, came from Julesburg, Colorado. I don't know if you've looked into any of those hospitals. Paul went into Chapter 11 after he left. And the interim nursing manager who went there, Terry Odo, when that happened, she reduced her salary by $100,000 until the hospital got out of their financial difficulties. So I just want you to hear how we're fighting for our job, how I care, coming from the outside, greatly for this community. And I find that their needs are not being met, and we're fighting for our jobs in the ER.
Thank you. Anyone else from the audience?
My name is Leslie Ingham, and I worked at Holy Cross as a pharmacist for nearly 30 years. And over those years, I can attest to the fact that the hospital morale and management has just gone down the drain. I loved working there until the last, say, 10 years. I mean, it was a great job. It was fun to work there. You were supported. Nobody ever quit. We didn't have to use all these travelers and locum tenens, which is costing the hospital millions of dollars. When I left there, morale was worse than I've ever seen it. I'd get up in the morning, I didn't want to go to work. I just thought the only reason I'm going is because I'm making money. But the hospital that I knew as a younger pharmacist that taught me how to be an exceptional pharmacist and that allowed me to develop a clinical program is deteriorating. We, in the pharmacy department, have one of the best clinical departments in the state. One doctor told me that the Coumadin Clinic is probably the best clinic in the country. And that was a cardiologist who said that. So I'm definitely concerned because it's just very sad to me that this is what is happening. And I think a lot of the financial difficulties are caused by bad management. Like they said, they're not collecting bills. They put in these new IT systems and medical record systems without testing them. And that further makes people frustrated and impairs the ability of doctors to work. Everyone is spending so much time on these systems trying to get the information and trying to chart correctly that the patients are suffering. They're suffering, and I really feel like part of the problem with that hospital is the company that manages it. You know, nothing lasts forever. Coroner might have been good years ago, but now every move they make is to line their pockets. Going critical access is just a ploy to get more money, which then goes to quorum. It doesn't benefit Taos. People are being flown out of here. A lot of my older friends are moving away because there's no good medical care here anymore. You know, that has to be turned around or the hospital will go broke. And that would be a horrible thing if that happens. So I don't think all these little 3/8 cents tax and this and that is going to save the hospital. The hospital needs better management.
Thank you. Anyone else from the audience wishing to address? Councilman?
Hi, Jerry Fernandez for the record. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. It's time for Mr. Patton to go. His hateful, shameful, hurtful comments aside, the fact that he has appeared in front of the governing body that I belong to numerous times and has been unable to answer basic questions about where his money is going, where they could potentially see opportunity, speaks a lot about the financial mismanagement. We can throw all the money in the world at that hospital, but if the dude doesn't even know where the money is going, where he's losing it, it's a waste of taxpayer expense. I run a restaurant. I know exactly where I'm making money, I know where I'm not making money, and I don't know where I can make more money. And I expect that same type of management from a multi-million-dollar hospital organization. So, that's it. It's time for him to leave. And now the fact that he wants to open up and is opening up a pediatric clinic, when we already have one that taxpayers have helped bail out in the past, speaks volumes about a lack of true direction. And let's talk about the fact that he's been cutting employees, but he's refused to take a pay cut himself. Where's the leadership in that? Get rid of him. Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you all for your comments and taking the time to come and meet with us here today. And we heard you loud and clear, and we appreciate you taking the time and being here with us today. All right, moving on, commissioners. Next item on the agenda is item 8, the minutes. Item 8 is approval of the June 26, 2018 regular commission meeting minutes. Pleasure of the commission.
Move for approval, Mr. Chairman.
Second. Motion and a second to approve the June 26, 2018 minutes. For call the roll.
Commissioner Romero?
Yes.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
Yes.
Commissioner Blankenhorn?
Yes.
Vice Chair Gagos?
Yes.
Chairman Bender?
Yes. Item B is approval of the June 28, 2018 special meeting minutes.
Move for approval. Second. Sorry about that.
Okay, motion and a second. For call the roll.
Commissioner Romero?
Yes.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
Yes.
Commissioner Blankenhorn?
Yes.
Vice Chair Gagos?
Yes.
Chairman Bender?
Yes. Okay. Item 9 is our consent agenda. I will read the items that are on the consent agenda, commissioners, and if there's an item you'd like more information on, we'll pull it and it'll be in the next order of business. Item A is approval of the Senior Employment Program Contract number 2018-19-685052 by and between Taos County Senior Program and North Central New Mexico Economic Development District Non-Metro Area Agency on Aging. Item B is approval of Senior Employment Program Contract number 2018-19-685052 by and between Taos County Senior Program and North Central Economic Development District Non-Metro Area Agency on Aging for congregate home delivered meals and transportation. Item C is approval of resolution 2018-40, a resolution approving DWI Team Court Planning Council bylaws. Item D is approval of the increase to purchase food expense for Taos County Senior Program through CES contract fiscal year 18-19. Item E is approval of giving the county manager authority to sign final contract for TCC 2018-50 Taos Whole Community Health, Diabetes Prevention and Pain Management. Item F is giving county manager authority to sign final contract for TCC 2018-49 Honeywell Building Solutions. Commissioners, that is the consent agenda as presented. Pleasure of the commission.
Move for approval, Mr. Chairman, of the consent agenda as presented.
Second. Motion and a second.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to pull item E.
The commissioners like to amend their motion to allow Commissioner O'Donnell to pull item E.
I'll amend my motion, Mr. Chairman.
I'll amend my second.
Okay, there's amended motion and second to approve the consent agenda less item E. Request of Commissioner O'Donnell. Clerk call the roll.
Commissioner Romero.
Yes.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Yes.
Commissioner Blankenhorn.
Yes.
Vice Chair Gagos.
Yes.
Chairman Farber.
Yes. Item E of the consent agenda is approval of giving county manager authority to sign final contract TCC 2018-50 Taos School Community Health, Diabetes Prevention and Pain Management. Commissioner O'Donnell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just like a description of who Taos Whole Community Health is, and I know it's $50,000 for diabetes prevention and pain management. As we know, I guess the hospital has a program, but I'm not sure. But if you could just explain what this contract is about, please.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner O'Donnell, this is one of the contracts that were awarded through the RFP for community health initiatives through our Healthcare Assistance Fund program. As I understand, Taos Whole Community Health does do diabetes prevention and alternative pain management. So it's, as I understand, they are not associated with the hospital. They're an independent group, and they did rank relatively high on the award. And I can take any questions and do my best to field them, but I would have to probably consult with Mrs. Ladino for more information specific to this. But the committee did approve and recommend this, and the board approved the award, I believe, back in May.
And who is Taos Community Health?
I don't, as I said, I don't know the details of the group. Taos Whole Community Health is the name of them. They went through the RFP process along with the other 11 or other 10 entities, and they were awarded accordingly through that process. And I can get back to you for more specifics. I apologize at this time. I didn't have the specifics of who they are, but we did vet them out. They are a legitimate business. They met all the requirements of our procurement office.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With that, I so move for approval of item E, contract TCC 28-50 with Taos Whole Community Health.
Second. Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve item E that was pulled from the consent agenda as read. Clerk call the roll.
Commissioner Romero.
Yes.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Yes.
Commissioner Blankenhorn.
Yes.
Vice Chair Gagos.
Yes.
Chairman Farber.
Yes. Item 10 is county manager's report of matters. Item A is update to county commissioner on various items affecting Taos County. Mr. Farber.
Good morning, commissioners. I don't have a lot due to the fact that I was out of the office for about a week in between our meetings, but I do have a couple of updates to give you. Our detention center successfully transitioned medical providers over the end of June into the beginning of July. We're now using Core Health. The transition went relatively smoothly. Most all of the staff that was with Correctional Health Partners transitioned over to Core Health. And so as of July 1st, Sunday, we have a new provider. And we're hopeful. The new contract does allow for more services. So we should be receiving more time in general. So instead of the 12 hours, we were getting 16 hours of medical service per day, and we're also getting more behavioral and mental health service per month. So instead of 4 hours a month, we're looking more at 3 hours per week. So we have an increase in services, the same staff that we had there at the end with Correctional Health Partners, and so we're very hopeful that this is going to be a good relationship going forward. I stand for any questions if there is any on that. Commissioners? Next, I just wanted to inform the board of a couple of major results of letters that we sent out. At the request of Commissioner Romero, we did send a letter to UNM-Taos about the conditions of the highway, US 68 through Pilar after the construction from the National New Mexico Gas. And you may have noticed or you may have seen some alerts that they are going to be doing resurfacing of US 68 through that area. They're using the Cutler group and the cutlerizing process to try and resurface that. So I appreciate the urging, and I do hope maybe our letter had something to do with that. So I think that's a positive thing. Another thing I wanted to point out to the board in regards to a letter that was at the request of Commissioner Gallegos. I think it was last fall, there was a request, actually it was probably last summer, a request to send a letter to the state auditor in regards to some of the GRT collections up at the mine site. We did not ever get a response to that letter. I did not know if it had been received or taken on in any capacity. I had a conversation with the previous deputy state auditor at the time, and he did indicate that they were doing an audit of TRD. Well, if you read the 17 audit of TRD, there are specific audit findings to that letter, and they are specific to Taos County. So I just wanted the board to know that we did get heard, and they did create an audit finding, 2 of them specifically to tax and rev for the way they are not properly accepting and distributing GRT disbursements. They have admitted in the finding that they have a problem, but there is no true plan of action to remedy the problem, which is the unfortunate part, but it did get exposed, and it is in their audit at this time. Basically, we gave in our letter a list of the vendors that we have been working with Chevron on, and from that information we were able to provide the state auditor. They did indicate that there was, out of the 10, only 2 were probably paying properly. The others are paying in codes that did not properly reflect where the work was being done. So I believe the village of Quest might have gotten some of that revenue. They were even paying within the El Tralo Water and Sanitation Code District in regards to work being done at the county site. So I do appreciate the urging of the board for letters like this in order to get our voices heard. And I apologize, we never got a response on that. I think during the transition of auditors, we were kind of maybe missed in the response, but reading the audit, they did take it into account. So,
Mr. Chairman, this is an audit from tax and rev?
Yes, this was the tax and rev audit for the 17. They had a few findings, a few troubling findings that I would certainly urge the commission to read it if you have an opportunity, but specific to Taos County, 2 of them were in regards to what we raised in terms of our concerns. And so I think it is valuable when we get that out there. Sometimes I get discouraged when I don't hear a response, and I'm not sure if we made any kind of impact with these letters, but it does appear we did. So. Next item I'll go ahead and touch on is our Holy Cross Medical Center board meeting. I did attend the board meeting on June 27th, I believe. It was the Wednesday before the 4th. The biggest topic of discussion at that meeting was their budget. In May, the board did request that the hospital go back to the drawing board on a budget they were trying to propose. That was a negative budget. It was about a $600,000 negative budget that was going to dip into reserves to cover the costs, which obviously they don't have any reserves. So it was the urging of the board, myself included, to go back to the drawing board and try and present at least a balanced budget. A big difference between the hospital budget and ours is it is an accrual-based budget, so they kind of mix things up with the balance sheet and the income statement, so it's not a true cash budget. So even though they were negative $600,000, if you took out depreciation and expense, they would have probably had a positive in terms of their cash basis. But if you are going to have to improve the hospital with capital improvements, you need to have a zero-based budget, in my opinion. That's strictly the best way to move forward. And they did do that. They were able to go back to the drawing board. They did make a lot more cuts, including, as I understand, some cuts to the compensation packages of upper management. Not the compensation itself, but to some of the way that they bring in their leave. They cut some of their leave accruals and things like that. So that was a step, I believe, in the right direction, and we do have at this time a balanced budget for the hospital going forward. There still are concerns with cash, and at the end of May there was a low cash balance again. We had gotten back down to under 10 days cash on hand because they started paying out the accounts payable that was due to them. We still do have collection problems at the hospital. I think a lot of what you heard is accurate. I mean, that is a concern of mine, is the accounts receivable and the aging report. They had really good months in the springtime, when in past times we didn't have very good months. Didn't mean that we had a lot more volume necessarily. Volume had picked up, but we were collecting on the past billing from October, November, December. So there is still a bit of a lag, I believe, in the reporting on ADAR, and that was one of my concerns as your representative on the board. So that is continuing to be a discussion. It was a major discussion of the board, and they do understand the importance of delivering to the community a balanced budget, one that reflects positive steps forward to rebuild the cash balances that they have. Another positive point of that board meeting is they did review the bylaws that will allow for an ex officio seat on that board for the commission. The board looked at those improvements. They asked it to go to a final review by their attorney, and they'll be hopefully adopting that in July. So county should have an ex officio seat coming up very soon on that board. I stop for any questions, Commissioner.
Commissioner Blankenhorn.
Thanks, Sandra. Was there a discussion of how to fix the building problems that are occurring? Was anything along those lines?
There always has been some discussion. A lot of times it is just leaning on outside third-party people to come in and help, and that does help in the short term. But it is absolutely important and necessary that internally they learn and get trained by these outside professionals to do it themselves in-house. It costs extra to have these outside professionals come in and continue to catch up on the building. It feels like they get caught up with the help of the outside, but then when it's back on their laps, they kind of lose a little bit of that steam, lose a little bit of that progress. And it's apparent to the board as well. I think the board is well aware of the concern there. I can't really deny my concern matches a lot of what you heard today. They are not billing in the best possible way. I feel like you're leaving money on the table if you're not aggressively pursuing that revenue. That revenue is theirs to pursue, and they do need to go after it. And they also need to work well with their providers, the insurance providers and Medicaid, especially your insurance providers. We know, we've heard a lot about payer-based. Insurance is paying you dollar for dollar. You really need to work well with those insurance providers to get those reimbursements as soon as possible without getting past that 3-month window where you can't continue to bill.
Are you aware of any estimates of the amounts that have been left on the table?
I don't have that at this time. We're requesting more information from the AR. I think the hospital needs to give us a better AR report for the board to be able to look at their 30, 60, 90, 180 days out, because I think that's where we'll get the answers to that. So that is a request.
And are you expecting that at the next board meeting?
I sure hope so. Yes, I'm not the only board member that has asked about that. Mr. Peralta is always asking for the AR reports. He always wants to see what the timing is on the money that was billed, say in December. Have we gotten what we should have gotten in December, which reasonably you should get 30 to 60 days. If we're not getting it for 90 to 100 days, that's where you get into that red danger zone that you're not going to get anything. And if you do make an error, as I've learned, it gets kicked back. That still shortens your window. You've got to make all of these corrections to the errors that are made within that same window to get that money. So if there's an error in the building to kick it back, that really puts more urgency on doing it right and getting it back off the door.
Well, as a potential current ex officio member of the board, I personally hope that you will continue to press that and try and get a feel for how much it has cost us and how quickly it can be fixed going forward.
Okay, I'll continue to push that. The one thing I will mention, as ex officio, there will not be voting, and there will not be access to all executive sessions, so it does seem like they've kind of focused the seat for financial purposes. So we don't have much say in personnel matters, or are they including me in any of the executive sessions regarding personnel matters. So I can't comment or give the board an update on any of those concerns that were brought to me, and I'm not apprised to those personnel matters.
But you do have a voice and a good one, and so hope that I'm sure you will exercise it.
It's a positive step. And certainly, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Certainly appreciate the fact that you're questioning the finances. Mine's a very small matter, but way back in January and then again in March, I was seeing my nutritionist at Holy Cross Hospital, and I gave 2 checks with co-pays of $40 each. And the first one, or the last one, finally cleared the bank this week. It took 4 or 5 months to clear. So it's only a $40 copay, but I can only imagine if there are others on the table, as we say, that haven't. And maybe that's the reason why the hospital isn't really doing well financially.
Thank you, Commissioner, for sharing that, and I will take back what we heard today as well, and the concerns. I hear the same concerns I believe the board hears in regards to that. That's low-hanging fruit. $40 may not seem like a lot, but it's $40 times every customer that comes in is significant to that, the health of the hospital, and it's their responsibility to request that payment. I agree. You don't go to the store and not pay and hope that they send you a bill 4 or 5 months later for that TV you buy at Walmart. You're going to pay for it on your way out. And I believe that's a very important factor, is to request that money. You got to ask, or no one's going to offer it up most of the time. So good to hear that. It's not good to hear. I'm glad to know that that is a concern, and it's an example that came directly from the board. Thank you.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, I appreciate that you are attending those meetings. Could you also confirm, I have heard that the board members' emails are not accessible, that they do not have emails, and if you could find out if that's true and why. I think it's important that the board members have emails, that constituents can email them directly. This was brought up by Dr. Andrus that they couldn't find email addresses to Holy Cross board members. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else, Mr. Corbett?
No, that is all that I have at this time on my report updates.
Okay, we'll go to item B.
Wait, I have another question. Oh, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Thanks.
I just wanted to thank Leandro for putting forward that letter to the Highway Department with regards to the surface of Highway 68. I'm glad that they're finally addressing the issue, and I know Cabello will do a really good job at resurfacing. Mr. Chairman, when we first heard about Mexico Gas Company coming forward and they're going to do the work, what is it, then 2 years already, or a year and a half ago?
I think so.
You had a concern yourself about the potential for mudslides, landslides, rocks coming down because they were going to be excavating on the right side of the road as you're coming in from Santa Fe. I still remain concerned about a lot of the areas that I feel are potential areas for mudslides or rock slides. As we go into the monsoon season, we haven't really had the moisture to move a lot of that area, but a lot of those roadsides were moved, and a lot of the soils and the rocks were removed and replaced. But I still feel that if we do get some heavy rainfall, that we may see some very dangerous mudslides as well as rock slides. I don't feel that those sides of the road have been dealt with or worked on properly, especially around the Rio Arriba-Taos County lines.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Romero, thank you for that. There was an open invitation for a follow-up meeting with Mr. Paul Brasher, and so I'll make sure that we do bring that up in our meeting with him. It was not addressed in the letter, they only addressed the resurfacing, so I appreciate reminding me of that, and I'll bring that up in our one-on-one meeting with Mr. Brasher.
Vice Chair Bagos, and then I go back to Commissioner O'Donnell.
Okay. Well, I know that Commissioner Romero talked earlier about where we were trying to go, holding the current user of our facility, the hospital. I want to ask that we get updated as to where we were, it kind of stayed still, and if we're going to move forward with that, I want to credit those ladies that came in today. Finally, we get people that actually work there to come in and speak about the problems that are happening there at the hospital, instead of what we've heard on the street, did not have very many people that are as brave as these ladies to come up here and talk about the day-to-day operations that have gone on there. So I applaud them. I just hope there's no retaliation or any kind of pushback that comes up, because that's what happens when people that are pressed to make changes don't want to make those changes, and we have those issues. So I personally am asking the governing body, this board, reintroduce the conversation we had early March, where we're going, what we're going to be doing, and we can't kick this can down the road anymore. We've expected 6 months from December when he came in and told us what he was doing, where we were at. February came around, March is going on, now it's June, it's already. You look at it as calendar quarters, that's the second quarter, and we're still sitting here having problems. So let's really address this, commissioners, if you want to make a change. If you don't want to make a change, let's not bring it up anymore, just let them do what they're going to do. But we got to make a decision one way or the other. Thank you.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Yes, could you please bring a report back on the status of the Taos Health Council and the bylaws? And I'd like adequate time to look at those bylaws to see if there's anything you might want to add or correct. I did have gotten several requests from people saying, where are the bylaws? When is this going to be heard? Thank you. And if you are going to have a meeting with Mr. Brasher, if you could ask him regarding the rest area, the Rio Grande, in the Rio Grande del Norte National Monument, at the bridge area. They had promised they would fix the drinking fountains. The drinking fountains have been broken for many years. They said they were going to start that in July. And when the assistant county manager and I spoke with the rest area manager, he said he was going to maybe move forward on some changes there. I had requested some of those signs be taken down about the water haulers. The place looks really ugly. It is an embarrassment to the community. This is one of the largest economic drivers for the region, with over 300,000 people visiting that area. You go into that rest area and see how worn down it is and how you can't even get water from the drinking fountain. I think it's important that they address that. So if you could please ask him, I would appreciate it.
Okay. I apologize, Commissioner Blankenham.
When is the meeting with Mr. Brasher?
We have not set a date. I was going to wait to ask for concerns today, and then we'll set up a date to follow up.
Yeah.
We have internal concerns also. We're going to bring up with them things like 150 up to the ski valley. There's a problem there that we want to address, and also the Arroyo Hondo, Arroyo Seco crossroads is another issue that we want to address with them.
I'm sure you've got a good strong list to address. Maybe we could get a look at it before the meeting, and then if commissioners have any additions that they would like you to address it, that would be great. Okay, that one I can do on the commissioners' announcements. Yep, that's good. Thank you.
Okay, now moving on to item B is discussion and approval for out-of-state travel and actual reimbursement for Taos County Board of Commissioners and County Manager to attend the White House tour and conference that we were all invited to.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I hope you've been seeing the emails that have come across. NMC, along with NACO, has been able to organize a Mexico delegation trip to the White House. Essentially, we were invited as a group of all commissioners and all county managers from the state were invited to a White House tour on July 27th. It does seem like a great opportunity for New Mexico to get in front of the executive and the cabinet secretaries of the executive or their designees to address our concerns, talk about the things that we usually talk to our delegation about. And so because of the tight timing of everything, we did kind of notice it this way. I want to ask at this time which commissioner would be interested or have an appetite to go to DC. I do want to let you know that because we have a brand new fiscal year budget, we do have the ability to take this trip, but this is probably about it. If most of the commissioners choose to go, we may not have much left for any additional travel throughout the year, but this is a pretty good opportunity. It's not every day that you do get an invitation to the White House. So I did want to give every commissioner the opportunity to say if they would like to go or not. And then on that same note, it's up to the commission if you'd like me to attend or not. So I'm okay either way. And I'll go ahead and open this up for discussion.
Anyone wishing to attend, let Leandro know.
I'd like to go. What's the time? What's the time frame?
We need to give notice of who will be attending by July 20th. It's
First 200 that register get in, and it's limited to 200.
And so we would be gone from July 26th through the 28th, or what's?
So we are going to be utilizing a travel agency called Akita Travel because of the timing of things, and they do accept purchase orders so that we can go ahead and expedite this. We want to make sure we get done today as soon as possible to lock in flights. Flights last week were between $800 and $1,000 a person because of the timing of it. So it is an expensive flight because of the late notice. We're also looking through the help of NMC at some of the hotels nearby so that we could get a good deal on the hotels and get us close.
Chairman, Commissioners, I would also add, if any of you are going out to go upstairs after this meeting and sit down with Vernell, because there is a link that you have to get into and get your driver's license, so the White House and Secret Service can do the appropriate background check. So I suggest doing that today.
So what are we talking, the 26th through the 28th?
Yes.
Yes, roughly.
Leave Thursday, come home Saturday.
And the events are on Friday. Most of everything is happening all throughout the day on Friday.
Mr. Chairman,
So I saw Vice Chair Gallegos and Commissioner O'Donnell, and as well, all four of them.
But I'm going to be back east anyway, so I'll save the time somewhere. I can get a flight from Denver to DC for $89.
I would not allow myself to be in the same building as our president, if that's how it works.
So I choose out. And what about Leandro? I think if Leandro would like to attend, we should.
Sure, that's going my place.
There you go.
And Mr. Chairman, I'll forego my NACO conference, the legislative conference in January or March, whenever that happens.
And then we'll go to the pre-conference. As a response.
So I have 4 commissioners and the manager.
Don't say, I see each other on a plane, I'll tell them.
And I'll offer to pay half of my expenses as well.
So as Mr. Adamio mentioned, after the meeting, if we can go upstairs and we'll go ahead and coordinate all of that, get the information we need from you, and we'll go ahead and start with the travel agency to book everything.
So motion, I'm looking for a motion then to approve the out-of-state travel for those that pass the security clearance that have made the made their wishes known that they want to attend the White House ceremony and conference on the 27th. Looking for a motion.
Motion.
Motion is second. Clerk call the roll.
Commissioner Romero?
Yes.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
Yes.
Commissioner Blankenhorn?
Yes.
Vice Chair Gallegos?
Yes.
Chair November?
Yes. Bring me a souvenir, but not from him.
That's all I have at this time. Thank you.
Commissioner Blankenhorn?
Just, I know whatever you've got in the budget for travel, and if we want to continue to travel after that, we just have to put the bill ourselves, so just keep us informed.
Okay, definitely. Yeah, I guess I should have rephrased that. It's budgetary constraints after this in terms of travel. Anytime commissioners want to attend anything, we can always work with you. Out of pocket.
And I'm going to just take care of mine, and I'll register, I'll have it all set up.
Okay, thank you.
You guys get to go to DC and I get to go to Hog.
Mr. Chairman, I saw a statement.
I know, one says canceled, and the next one says RSVP, then it says canceled, then it says RSVP.
Yeah, I'm not
So
sure.
I'm gonna call after the meeting though. All right, next item on the agenda, item 11.
Mr. Chairman, real quick, before we go on to the next one, sorry. Just wanted to inquire about the unused tower at the National Guard, or the old National Guard, Armory Guard, Highway Department, or Road Department offices. Was wondering if Leandro had done anything on that.
That cell tower that's out by Randy.
Actually, I have been digging into it. The tricky part with it is that tower we inherited it. It had originally been placed there on state, when the land was owned by the state. So what we are doing is we're attempting to find what those approval documents were and track it down. I've been working with paralegals. So far, no luck. The whole key is, I think, is now that it is in our possession, it's not being used for that purpose. I do think ultimately we will have an ability to ask them to remove it, but it's just a complicated history that I don't want to go in without knowing it and start. So thank you very much. I appreciate that, Mr. Chairman. And Mr. Attorney, if I remember the history on it correctly, Samuel Montoya signed on those final documents giving them the permission to set up former county manager Samuel Montoya, who's now deceased. And so I'll kind of leave it at that. The way it was all done in a hurry over a weekend, it was built, left a bad taste in my mouth, as well as that of the neighborhood around that area. And umpteen years later, they still continue to call and complain about the looks of the tower. I've been approached also by members of the tribe. I believe that it never got approval from the FCC to operate because it was protested by the tribe many years ago that it was on the way of their line of sight when they do the religious ceremonies. And so that for me has been the biggest reason as to why I would like to see it down. I don't have a problem with it being relocated elsewhere. We do need cell phone service, especially on that stretch between Arroyo Hondo and Alvarado. Phones go dead once you get into that zone. So maybe someone else eventually will want to replace it somewhere else, but I would like to see it come down before I reach my term as a county commissioner.
Yeah, it was put up with very little discussion and no notice to the public, which is why the FCC never approved it. It was done on a 25-year lease with a 25-year extension and some ridiculously low amount of money per year. I think there's these little increments that increase year by year. I always agreed with Randy that because the lease cannot fulfill its purpose, that we could break it. It's a pain to do that, but I think that a judge would agree. If nothing else, if we put pressure on the owners and tell them that it is our intention to pursue terminating the lease because it cannot fulfill its purpose without FCC approval, then maybe it will pressure them into doing something about either getting approval or removing the tower. It would be great to have the extra access there, but it seems unlikely. Maybe in the current climate, the current FCC, they could do something, but if we do nothing, they owners will do nothing because the cost to them is so minimal, they'll just keep it there. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, what is...
Mr. Chairman, real quick, Commissioner Mike, I want to thank you, Mr. Audio, for looking into that as well.
Mr. Chairman, what is the cost, or what are they paying us?
Oh, you'd have to look it up.
$25 a month?
Because I can't remember. Maybe it was $100 a year. Something, I don't know. But it's very low amount. I can't.
I'll update the commission as soon as I completely flesh out all the facts. It's just because it was so long ago, it was hard to find the files and so forth. As soon as we get all that, then I will update you.
Basically the lease. It was a pretty thick file when I was here a long time ago, but heaven knows if any of that's kept. But the lease is really the key one, of course.
I just want service. There's a commissioner guy who's not use that excuse of dropping my call that he's driving through that area. So. Anything else on that? Okay, well, move forward then, new business commissioners to be considered at a future meeting. We've got a bunch that we've talked about here that I think we'll filter over to that, and yes, Tommy?
So last time there was that thing about the noise, you know, the concert that was out of hand. I did promise to talk to the owners. I did talk to the owners. I think they fully understand that any kind of a repeat performance would be a danger to their overall business there. They've since banned that particular promoter from doing any shows. They say they got their decibel apps on their phones going and that they are really serious and determined to make sure it never happens again. Nevertheless, there is that discussion of a countywide noise ordinance. I personally think that it's a large county. I hate to see the sheriff being called out for a chainsaw someplace in the rural portions of the county, but I am open to hearing the discussion, and that may be something that the board wants to address at a future meeting. Also, of course, the LUR. I know legal's working on it and making good progress along with the planning department, but I just wanted to throw in a little reminder that the sooner the better on that. I don't know when our next review of our county manager's performance and compensation is scheduled.
October.
Just to put a bug in everybody's ear, I am of the opinion that he is being paid on the lower end of the spectrum of county managers, and that his performance is at the higher end of that spectrum. And I personally would like to discuss trying to close that gap in the coming months. And as to the hospital, I know that the hospital is going to make another one of their presentations when they have finished and signed their agreement with the staff, the union agreement. I think that is close to being finalized, and once it's finalized, they're going to come back and give a presentation to the board. I think we should set some serious time aside for that. I think there's a notion that this board can change management of the hospital. We certainly can't fire the CEO or the CFO. I guess there are some possibilities for leverage under our lease, but we do not have the hiring and firing capabilities on the administration of the hospital. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Any announcements, commissioners? Commissioner O'Donnell?
Yes, I'd like to announce the Penasco area community is having their yearly garage sale this Saturday from 10 to 3. There will be over 40 local homes offering their trash as your treasure, and there'll be food. Great opportunity. It's an economic driver for Penasco. It helps put money in their pockets. So if you get a chance to attend this Saturday, 10 to 3, and also the Camino Real Ranger District of the Force is having a meeting on the Sardinas fire this Thursday at 5:30 at the community center. So if anyone would like to attend to hear the latest and to hear the issues that could happen if heavy rains brought the ash down into the Rio Pueblo and into the Rito La Presa. So that's our biggest concern right now. We're hoping for rain, but we're praying for light rain and not heavy rains that would bring that ash down into the river. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, item 12 is Taos County Commissioners may convene in closed session to discuss possible litigation involving Taos County Detention Center. These matters may also be discussed in executive session under Open Meetings Act exemption 10-15-1H7, which allows for discussion of pending or threatening litigation. Mr. Audio, is it your recommendation that we enter into executive session on this matter?
Yes, Mr. Chair, it is.
Mr. Chairman, move that we go into executive session. And how long?
I would say half an hour.
Motion and second for about a half hour. Okay. Clerk call the roll.
Commissioner Romero?
Yes.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
Yes.
Commissioner Blakenher?
Yes.
Vice Chair Gagos?
Yes.
Chairman Bender?
Yes. Motion to come back into regular session. So second. Motion and second. Clerk call roll.
Commissioner Romero?
Yes.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
Yes.
Commissioner Blakenher? Vice Chair Gagos?
Yes.
Chairman Bender?
Yes.
Mr. Ani, will you give the public a report of what and was discussed and if it was within the exemption as noted in the agenda?
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, members of the public, we went into closed session to discuss potential litigation involving the detention center, and that was the only item discussed, and no action was taken, which meets the requirements of the exception to the Open Meetings Act.
Motion to accept Mr. Audio's report.
So moved. Second.
Clerk call the roll.
Commissioner Romero?
Yes.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
Yes.
Commissioner Blakenher?
Yes.
Vice Chair Gagos?
Yes.
Chairman Bender?
Yes. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.